welcome everybody. We're going to just be discussing the Paladin order. Alan is going to start the benediction.
My cue. Okay, folks. The time has come for the announcement, but what about time? Is a particular time more special than another? I was trying to figure out, being an astrologer, is this a good time? And I was thinking, oh, maybe I could tweak it a few minutes here or there. I found out I don't need to. The heavens are reflecting what's happening right now. Leo has just started to rise. The attention-getting sign. The sign of benevolence. The sign that wants to take care of you and do it in a dramatic way. Right now, Mars is in Gemini. Action being talked about. Right across the heavens is Jupiter in Sagittarius, where it rules, in a dynamic tension, saying, get out there, Mars. Kick it, do it. And Mercury, the planet of communication, is 60 degrees from Mars, which is called a sextile aspect. It's supporting Mars. So all these things have come together. All these things reflect the heavens and this moment to bless this act, to bless what's happening now. So I ask you all to simply join me in affirming that blessing. And I understand you all know this one. As above,
so below.
As the universe,
So the soul.
As without,
So within.
What goes up?
Must come down.
Bright blessings to everyone.
Great blessing to you.
And remember, pollinate your flowers with blessed bees. We need those little workers now more than ever. And now, acknowledging those blessings, having joined in, recognizing where the universe is and how it's reflecting this moment, we have our next person to introduce the next speaker.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. As many of you know, well, all of you in this room know, my name is Reverend Elizabeth Correll. And I am a Paladin. And I stand before you today with a message of urgency. Because I am afraid. Why am I afraid? I'm afraid because Gaia is on fire. I am afraid because the alarm bells are going off and nobody is paying attention enough. I am afraid because Gaia loves us enough to give us this message, to give us these warnings, to give us these signs, and to make us intelligent enough to speak through us. And today she speaks through me. Children all around the world have recognized that a change is necessary. A change in our very way of life. And it began with a woman, Greta Thunberg, 16 years old, from Sweden. What did she do when she recognized this problem? She did something. She sat outside of her Congress in Sweden, her parliament in Sweden, from school. She didn't go to school, she struck. And it galvanized millions of kids, millions of young adults. Because their thinking was, why go to school if we don't have a future? If we don't have a future, what do we have? we do have a future. We have a future if we decide in this very moment to act. It's a future that I want. So I will be acting. I will be working with every single paladin from this moment forward, like an arrow released from a bow, to get that future, to grab it, to make it mine, to make it ours, and to survive, to thrive, to grow, to be that which I know we all can be, and I know we all want to be. The Paladins will be actively working towards this end from this moment forward. And this is the moment of acceleration. And to speak more about this is a person that I have known for 15 years. He is one of my best friends. He is a person who I first met in the Gray Elephant in Houston, Illinois, when I was like this tall. Haven't grown that much, but whatever. I haven't grown much in height, but I've grown much in many other ways, intelligence included, I'd like to think. And he has been like this rock. You know, he's always there. He's always sharing little bits of wisdom with me. Every time I encounter him, I can take away something more. And I've seen him pursue all of these different things. He's always doing something. He is a doer. He is an activator. He is an active person. Even if you don't hear much about him, he's always doing something. And this person is the Right Reverend Sir Ed Correll, First Elder and Paladin General, Archpriest and Elder, former First Director, Joint Head of the Universal Temple of Gaia, Prince of Blood and Faith.
Thank you very much. So, I am a paladin. What does this mean? It means I've dedicated myself to holy service in the name of God. And there's only been one real history before this in the age of Charlemagne, where they tried to bring a renaissance in the midst of the Dark Ages. And basically the idea is very simple. People must act. And I've been out there, so it is. So I'm going to introduce the Right Reverend, get this right, Right Reverend Sir Jason Mycroft Highcorrell. He's Paladin Major. He's been with me on this journey for a very long time. And what we've done is that we've always been about the support of our elders and our community. We are for all the living, and we're about support. So we're not here to teach you more theology or philosophy, but in the next 23 minutes, and start the timer, I want to explain something about the nature of our prophetic tradition and about what is coming down the line and why the Paladins are going to act and execute in supporting the voice of the gods themselves, which are visiting us on earth. And what do I mean by that? Literally, they are working through channels, through the pagan tradition. And we have now, in this temple, reconstituted. And you have been there to both places of what is. 2 years ago, I came before the Demon Council to ask or reactivate the order. And they gave me permission there to do so, as is our rules. Last year, I asked for a Holy City Temple to be renamed into the Universal Temple of Gaia and to reactivate that very old, very powerful temple. And that has begun, and we've actually begun our meetings with it. And in that action, we are not looking for followers. We're not looking for people who just simply want to praise and do poems. We've got lots of great temples. We have artists of all kinds in our tradition. We have artificers of all kinds. We have singers. We have dancers. We have all of these things. What we need is the preservation of life itself. I'm literally talking about the life and death. Because I went to the Parliament of World Religions, the 7th one of 2019, and the theme of that parliament was we are about to see a major ecopocalypse. We're in the midst of an extinction event. All my life, Earth has become a charnel house. 60% of all vertebrate species since I was born, 1963, are dead. We're about to lose our oceans. We'll hear about this. And you know what we discovered at the Parliament? I heard the gods and the goddesses' voices very clearly. There's not much we can do about preventing it. So the pagan people have got to do what they've always done. Preserve. I am going to ask you to act in ways to preserve our community, to preserve our knowledge, our wealth, and our beliefs, and most importantly, our children. So you're going to hear a lot of noise in the next 10 years. Literally what's happening is basically the extinction event. And everybody is our basic theme in society right now is let it happen. Jesus will return. The gods will return. Well, the pagan gods have returned. And as a paladin, I was called into the service of the gods and literally the voices of them. And I'm going to go down to them. So the paladin order is now dedicated. We are not guided by our own inner instinct, but by the voices of the gods through their representatives. So we found the Vox. So we have a rank inside Gaia Temple called the Vox, the Paladin Order. These are the people who are getting our advice and their service, and all can join us. And the first, of course, that we asked, of course, was Vox Correlliana, Stephanie Neal, because she has channeled and brought the goddess to us through her voices and through the sea priestess and through those talks. And the oceans are needing that praise. We also asked for Vox Correllian, Don Lewis, to preservation of the people. And they accepted. I'm so honored. But this story began with a man much longer ago who gave us the first warning. We have been right since we began this journey. From the time the pagan became a word in our country, in our nation, and it spread, we have been right. We've told people the world is burning. We need to preserve. We've been the screaming heralds of the planet. And we've had our prophecies. We're deeply prophetic in our thing. And so the very first person that asked is the father, I call him father, who is a member of Gaia Temple, is Vox Pagani, Oberonzel, has joined our quest and is now pushing forward to have our action. And what does it mean to be the voice? Our paladins are going to provide them with whatever support they need to carry their vision. And so he represents the pagans. We have asked Vox Ceres, Seed Savers, Belladonna Laveau, who was on a year-long journey to basically bring the message of Demeter to save Caesar. She is now working at that, and so we're in support of her. There is a man out there who is now searching and working with the indigenous people and people to bring peace to our community and needs support. And he's Vox Diplomate. He joined us, Patrick McCullough. These are who we serve. We have asked Vox Isis to come with us. And Linda Isles has joined us as well to carry this message. We have asked Vox Urbis, Althea Norwich Orr, who's is this herbalist, fantastic, who's joined us to help us in this action. Each of these people have been asked, spoken to the gods, and been speaking to us, and now need support. So the Paladin quest is very simple. We are now going to put the support on it. So in Chicago, we've gotten started, and we have now dedicated ourselves to feeding 2,000 people on our south side, which are hungry. Hunger in America should not exist, but it does. We are going to actually start and do something very important. We're not going to expect everybody to just donate money. We believe in our samples, and we're going to start a thrift shop. Because that is something we know that everybody needs, and so to recycle, reuse. And not only that, it's going to develop a sharing economy so we can actually share these items amongst us so that we don't have to look for everything. We can share. So the Paladin's core economic value is to share. And the thing that we are going to convert is our time. Now, you know me. I always say we overestimate what we can do in a year, underestimate what we can do in a decade. bring ourselves to be classified from a very controversial, unimportant religion to sitting on the world stage at the prominent world religion, being recognized as a global tradition in 25 years, and we now know what a career 40 years looks like. But let me tell you, we are in a race now. So every year you can see change. Every month can see change. Every week can see change. Every day can see change. And in this speech, you can see change in a minute. You can always become something else. Now, in order for the Paladin order to be restored, I had to have something in my faith to actually represent that. I needed to be seen and shown and have the scales torn from my eyes, ripped from my eyes to see the value of being not apocalyptically pessimistic. In fact, be apocalyptically optimistic. And what do I mean that? Since 1963, I don't believe in the apocalypse. Let us be very clear. I do not believe in the apocalypse. I believe that we are having problems, we are having crises, but the apocalypse is the idea that we are better off dead, and that in some way turning our planet into a burning mess on a pyre to some sort of sky gods and sky people to burn us all so that we can go on to another life when we have such a miracle in Gaia. Gaia is so old and so long, and we are a part of Gaia. We are still the first amoeba because life has never came from life, anything but life. And however it got here, and I don't really care how it got here, since it's been here, it's constantly rebirthing itself to become more. We are Gaia. We are literally her cells, her bodies, her DNA. And that at this point in our name and our game, preserving it is. And she has no care about it making extinction work. We've been wiped. We're in the middle of the 6th extinction event. So now we come to being Noah. Are we going to allow ourselves to be swept away by the waters of what we have prophesized, what we have known, or are we going to build the arcs that are necessary? The voices of the gods, the Voces, have told me that they need help to support it. They need help with their missions. We need help with our missions, from seed saving. And to give you an idea, we're going to talk a little bit about bees. But before I do that, I'm going to do something very quick. I want to beat this part because okay. I'm going to do something real quick. So, from palm to palm, we cast a spell. Next person. There you go. From palm to palm, we cast a spell. Cast the circle. Oh, you don't have to hang on. Just pass it. It's a passing game. I apologize. It's a passing game. That would be, huh? It looks kind of cool, too. Oh, it's very interesting. And then, oh, no, there it stopped right there. That's interesting. And that's a very pertinent, it's very interesting because it's very pertinent. So, bees, everybody's talking about bees. Bees are a way that we are going to sponsor health. I'm already talking to beekeepers across the country. In the next few weeks, I'm launching a sampler pack. And I'm getting pagan land to grow bees. Circle Sanctuary is growing bees for holy honey. Heartland is growing bees for land. We're growing and seed honey because what we have to do to preserve nature is we have to allow it to give us abundance. Gaia is super abundant. So anyone who ever wants to say, what is the ministry of Gaia? Well, Gaia doesn't have a ministry. She has a care. She wants to feed us, house us, clothe us. And how we do that is the way she wants to express herself. And I truly believe she procreates every day into new forms. And we're just the latest example of that form. And how we survive is going to be essentially by our actions. And as you see the honey now that is coming by, these are by two of my favorite. We have dark honey and light honey. And realize honey is not a commodity. Honey is as distinct as wine. It's as distinct as wine. Where it grows, the hive, the soil, the flowers or its nectar source, and when the weather is, makes a difference. Honey has now become the next collectible, just like chocolate, just like coffee. We're seeing things that were once treated as commodities, try to treat as individual. And we must learn that sacredness, that diversity in all our foods. I'm not saying I'm not going to try talking to eat healthy or vegan or anything else, but I am going to talk to you about growing food that can be sustained. And try it. Don't wait for anybody. Just go ahead. It's there for you to enjoy. Abundance is not about restriction. It is about how we live our lives in the fullness of the moment. So now I'm on the staff. So the Parliament of World Religions has brought me forward. They talked with me. I got Voces Feminine, which is Phyllis Karat. She is, I honor her as such. And I was talking with her, and she says, well, what are you going to do about this? So during the Parliament, the very first thing that happened was this circle palm casting. I was in a circle with Phyllis actually kind of passed it around. And she was nervous, and she was going to do a speech. And she does this, passing the circle. And she has represented a great deal of it. And she asked me what I was going to do. And I go, I'm not sure. And at that time, I was convinced I was going to be the next media guy. We're going to create this media news service. I was hot, I was heavy, and was strong on it. But then I heard Paul Carr, I heard all the scientists, and they said, you've got 10 years. They got to me. They got to my heart. They got to my mind. Everything that I thought I believed, when you saw the data, the evidence, we're in trouble. And this is where I came up. So the last 6 months, so I'm a big believer in Peter Thiel. I don't know if you know him, the guy who started PayPal, and he's the founder of many things. And he says, when I'm looking at a 10-year project, I try to figure out how to do it in 6 months. That's right. The guy who's telling you we overestimate everything tries to ask how we can do something in 10 months. And the Paladin became that order. We are a global situation. We're a global society with a lot of things. And so now I'm going to ask everyone who ever wanted to do this to help us. We'll find projects. All these people have projects. We are now needing a volunteer base. People who are willing to serve, to do these actions, such as saving seeds, raising bees, working land, feeding people, being any job that you think you want to do in skill. The Paladins have an unlimited need for your actions and service. And if you can give us 10 hours a month, I can dramatically change the world. We can dramatically change the world. And I've seen it happen. And simply put, we can look at it. I am very fortunate that one of the biggest honors this year, today, was a project that I helped begin. 8888, and that is the Crystal Web. Does anyone know the secret of the Crystal Web? Why I started it?
Networking.
It was something even more simple. Telepathy. Magic. I was told that I would create magic. That I would create a network of magic, of amplification and strength. That I wanted magic. And the crystals that I planted, went by there. They're still in Lincoln Park, under the great tree. And from that moment, we've grown to over 1 million crystals that are tied into the idea of thinking together, of dreaming together, and being together. The fact that we've created something that other people would consider imaginary, we brought it into will, we brought it into function. And yesterday, we saw one of our greatest spirits move into helping us understand it. We share dreams, we share crystals, we share energy, and we've been doing so for a very long time in a very large area. We've already changed that. We wanted Wicca to be more accepted, and so we went online. And today, we are the largest tradition, as far as we can tell, in the world. And not to boast about it, but to show that the fact that we want service on a large scale. And so I've asked various people around the world, and we've got Paladin commanders, Paladin J.J. Julianus. He's going to help us gather camping equipment, so that when we go to festivals, we'll have a Paladin camp for people who don't have camping equipment, and help us maintain it. You know, small fees, small gestures. And you know why we're going to do that? Because if we can do something in pleasure, it'll help us in pain. because then we'll have camping equipment sitting there in case of a disaster. Constantly in use, constantly being shared, and therefore a disaster. In Chicago, we're doing a food ministry that is going to be on a monthly basis. So if there's a disaster, our people are ready to supply food. These are the first two projects that we've got. We've got other individuals out there who are working towards this goal. But what is the goal? It's a very simple one. Infrastructure. Infrastructure, infrastructure. My concern now, like it always has been, is about building the structures so that everybody can use them. It would be really easy just to take the stage. For me, this is harder than any of the rest of the stuff. But I need to talk about building better stages, better places, and better platforms. So the Paladins is a platform of volunteer service. And we have brought on, and we're bringing this idea forward, and it is our way of handling it. So I'm going to give one final thought. We are a prophetic tradition. We're deeply prophetic. We can point to places in our past, as far as 1879, where we talked about our futures and what we worked on. The truth is, our prophets, our soothsayers, all see a future for us. A golden path, as they speak of doing, of moving forward. So when we talk about this, we are not going to prepare for the end. We're preparing for the future, for the golden path, where we are going to come back and return. Remember, we're returning. Let us build the communities now. Let's plant the Dawn Star ancestors who we are. Who are the Dawn Star ancestors? We are. What is the Dawn Star ancestor? Those who change the way society works, the way that we build culture and the way we build civilization. And right now, we have more leverage than any other human beings on the history of the planet to make significant change. So I'm going to tell you, close this with a mystery. So Phyllis Crotts started with the hand-to-hand. And then we saw our people disperse. And they all went to different directions. And we saw people talking to each other. And then our Sir Elizabeth Correll got scooped up by Patrick McCollum himself and worked 3 days, and she met princesses and leaders of all kinds by service. We saw our press secretary running from one end to the other as a volunteer deep inside the Parliament of World Religions. We saw our own leadership bring the other leadership of the Wiccan traditions together to speak on a single day and say, hey, we're together, and be recognized in that moment. All of these things happen. We saw our friend Kai here, who was also being asked and doing interviews and people wanting to talk to us. So all of these things are really kind of cool, and they're kind of that. But one thing that happened is everybody was talking about how much our symbols were indigenous. Everybody kept talking about how indigenous we appeared to them, how much we were accepted. And we had, amongst other things, a woman of our tradition working through and gathering knowledge and being blessed with knowledge and being breath prepared. Now we come to the last act of the Parliament, and most of the leadership is gone. The Correllians are standing there, a few others. But the great leaders, the big leaders, are all gone. And we're standing around an indigenous circle for the last of the fire. The energy of the entire Parliament was drawn together to the great fire. We all attended. And then all of a sudden, no cameras! Oh, this is a heartbreaker for Correllians. No cameras are allowed.
I was devastated.
Yeah. And this is why this is a mystery that must be passed on, because it is distinctly important to our future. It told us we do have our sacred duty. So they grabbed and called one of our own brother. And they dragged him before everyone to give the first offering and request of the day. And that was Reverend Don Lewis. Still breaks me up. And he was dragged
And you're
forward.
talking out of over 300 something people.
Over 300 people. There's a few people who have seen this mystery. And so out of 300 people, they grabbed him and recognized him as brother. And they would begin the offerings. And when they began the offerings, they began to have people hugged. They hugged him, they passed on the next person, then Don followed them to hug, then they followed him to hug. And so you had this whole snake of huggers, literally 300 people hugging each other. Beautiful. And they started making their offerings in the cubby. Amazing. So there was, remember, this is the very last act of the Parliament. This is where I think, and there's energy followers. How many people believe in energy? We pass the energy, right?
Yeah.
Right? And with this, sorry, we pass it blasting hand to hand. That's it. Mm-hmm. Blast it hand to hand. And so, for me, what would happen next, I was thinking about this. I was so caught in what I was doing. Hand to hand, that's what I was thinking. I was so amazed at it. I was so thinking like, oh my gosh, there's an acceptance moment. That spirit talked to me. We talked about Wendy's voice and other voices. In that moment, I was struck by awe. I'm not easy to strike with awe. I love it. I'm an awe addict. And everything else was all addict. Is that we would see the moment of our sacred grandmother. For the restoration of the Correllians would require, for me to move forward, a return to the sacred land, the sacred grandmother. So the very last hug with mine. So this is our mystery. Here we go. So the last person to be hugged at the Parliament were the natives and all of the traditions of the world, where she spent a great deal of time learning it. The entire energy of that blessing was poured into her to restore her, Angela, and you give her own name to me, and I called her that sacred grandmother. We witnessed the miracle of having our own sacred grandmother restored to us off camera and only in front of the gods. And this is our mystery. But she is now, she is, as far as I'm concerned, our sacred grandmother. And with that moment, we agreed we want us to survive. And we agreed we want the Correllians to survive. And so this is something honor, and I'm very blessed to be in her presence. And she has the power of magical hugs. You do. So let's say, welcome, sacred grandmother.
Welcome, sacred grandmother.
And this has been living there for the last 6 months. And so this has been that sort of thing. I've been living with this and talking about other parts of this mystery. But the mystery that I was finally left with is, if I do not preserve this, if I do not try to preserve as much nature as possible, preserve as much culture as possible, be keeper of our stories, keeper of our books, and I do not support other people in doing so, I will violate everything else. So my first wish in life is I wanted someday to have a glorious death. I want legacy. I want people to remember who we are. And most importantly, now I see Mabel, I have my own grandchildren, I want us to survive in a world bent on its own destruction. We are not survivors, we are not victims, we are actually co-creators of Gaia. We are the children of Gaia, and the Paladins are going to do everything to support you. Praise be Gaia, praise be the children. And now, you see in the next few days, if people want to sign up, we're going to have people wait to sign up in service. So there it is. Correllians, you are blessed. This is the most honored, and to me, I feel that we are more restored today of faith than we've ever been restored. Now, what are we going to do? And for me, it's going forward to support our community and each other. And I am done. But I have any questions? Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Pollinate your flowers with
Blessed be. There you go. I guess you can ask any questions if you like, yeah? Or whatever. Jason, what's up? So let me go introduce you to the Paladins in the room if you would like to know more. So, as I mentioned, Right Reverend Paladin Major, Sir Jason. Elizabeth Correll, Sir that. Plus Alan, Salmi, new member, Paladin Herald. One of the most unsung heroes in our Paladin order, though she doesn't recognize herself, I do, is Marianne Kay, who's helped with so many of the design and so much of my support. And we have our squires, people who just heard the call and joined us. Squire Aurora, Squire George, and they're just like, heard the call. So I'm very blessed in all of this. So Jason, what are we doing next?
Next, we take a short break and get set up for the temple taming.